Where we at? Who's up?
Well, at this point, about how much, how would you rate how much you have been able to accomplish in the first handful of OTAs?
I would say we're closing in on, 50% of our installation, and I think early on we tried to do a good job on both sides of the ball of getting some of the, the critical exchanges and all the things that we need to know and understand about the nuances of the broad vision of the offense. And once you felt good about that, continue to build on that and move on. I think the guys have done a really good job, especially in the last week and a half of getting that where we could feel good about building on top of some of those things.
Ryan, it seems like the practices are pretty heavy on 11-on-11 periods. What's the idea behind that?
I think, the more communication you can have and the realistic looks for quarterback, I think are always important. And you have a rush in front of you and things like that. The more of those situations you can bring up for the guys that they have to communicate and execute with full vision, I think is always better.
Is the 50% about what you expected, or?
Yeah. No, I think we're right on schedule. I think we're in a good spot. I think a lot of the big parts that haven't been hit yet are more some of the things that you hit in camp when you have a little more contact and things like that. But no, I feel like we're doing a great job and we're right on track.
When you say broad vision of an offense, when you talk about your offense, just kind of big picture, what are the traits you want to see?
Well, I think that grows and evolves every year, right? And you base some of that on the talent that you have and the guys that you have here. And so for us, we're trying to make sure that we find every way to utilize those things. So, when you talk about some of the run pass balance, you have backs like, Nine and Zach, you're pretty excited about your ability to run the ball. So I think for us, we're trying to melt some things together with some of the things we've done in the past, whether it's a long time ago or even just, the last few years, and get the guys to understand that we want to be a physical, dominant team at the same time, have that same explosive, confusing element that people are used to.
What are you learning about your quarterbacks the more you go through all this?
They're awesome. They're friggin' awesome. They are. I think that they're both really, really hard workers. They're very diligent, intelligent, and I know that it means a lot to them. And I think that their leadership in the room and how they react and work together says a lot about the kind of guys that they are, that they understand the team concept, and they're both fighting to get better every day. And I couldn't be more happy with, number one, where they're at, and then the type of guys that, management has brought into this place have done a really good job.
Ryan, different has this been?
Different about the teaching and installation process at this level than it was in college?
I think sometimes, like right now, in an NFL schedule, the time constraints and OTAs can be a little tougher. You'd love to have more time with the guys. We know that that's coming. But obviously we have to be respectful of all the time limitations. So more time on the field with the guys would be awesome. Not even in a contact way, but just being out doing more walkthroughs and things like that. So I think when we are able to get to that in training camp, I think we'll take a lot of big steps.
We've heard from your quarterbacks that you really demand presence from those guys. I think that's the word that both those guys use. What does that look like and sound like to you?
Well, I think for those guys, just having the ability to take control of a huddle, a practice, and be out there, and when they don't know or it doesn't go perfect, they own the moment, and when it goes good, that's what they expected. They move on quickly, and just communicating, whether it's a call with the center, talking on the sideline, getting the right people in the huddle. I think that presence is something that guys, you can show that you have confidence in the scheme and that you've been working really hard, that you understand things, that you can move quickly through things, and that can speak volumes about where you're at. And I think both those guys have really grown in that regard through their careers. I think certainly Geno, when you're out there with him, you can feel his presence. He does a really good job of that, of commanding attention of his teammates. And I think even since our time here, I think Sam has really grown in that regard.
Geno Smith was telling us, Ryan, that this is a drop-back offense. He thinks he's a drop-back passer. Is that what you would characterize your offense as, and how much does your offense fit what Geno does?
Yeah, I think that there is a really good marriage there with some of the skill set that Geno has. I think that, we ask our quarterbacks to do a lot. Luckily for us, Geno's really athletic as well. And I think for us, we don't have to limit it to just drop back. I think he's really good in the play action game as well, which will be a big part of our offense. And I think for us, it's not just the 5-step all the time. But I do think that Geno is really good at getting the ball out on time, and very efficient with the football, which, he obviously showed in 22, led the league in completion percentage. So I think that's something that marriage of understanding how to get the ball out on time and really take care of the football is something that works obviously really well.
I know contact maybe makes it hard to judge what's going on up front, but the offensive line, how do you kind of see that coming along?
Yeah, we've got a little ways to go there. And I just mean more about the reps and opportunity. Some of the guys, are still working through things and getting back. And so there's been a lot of guys shuffling in and out there, but we've been working through some of that. And I think that they'll continue to grow each week. I think, Charles and Lakin have done a good job of kind of building the mesh on the left side a little bit there. So that's probably the most continuity we've seen is those two guys working together. So I think that's the next step for us is continuing to build continuity within that group, and we're coming.
Ryan, you quoted Geno year 22, 19 at 2022. How far did you go back just in terms of his sample size, get to see him on film, and then get to learn him to get to today?
College. And tried to learn everything about him, like how his game has grown. What are the things that helps him? What does he do well? What does he struggle with? And I think that it's really cool when you see a sample size like Geno and the evolution of him and his career and just how serious he is about everything and ability to be coached and, looking for his own blind spots. So I think, I went all the way back when I thought about some concepts and things like that. Like what did he do in college? How did he grow as he went through the league? And like I said, it's really impressive just to see the type of growth he's had.
Other than you and Scott Huffler, a lot of coaches who've worked together in the past. Just how have you seen this process as a staff? You guys all coming together with all your different backgrounds and learning each other as you also try to get a team ready.
Yeah, it really wasn't as far off on the offensive side of the ball as when we got to UW, honestly. It was myself and Lee Marks, our running back coach, and the rest of the guys were new. So I think that it's just like any other process. You got to, keep working on the building blocks of communication and trust and, keep handing out responsibility and let guys grow in their roles. And we've certainly done that. I've been really lucky. I got some great coaches that have had a ton of experience in the league. Frisman Jackson is a guy that's coached a lot of good wide receivers in the NFL. And I feel like he's brought a big element to that receiver room, and just building relationships and really detailing skill. And, Mac Brown's been in a lot of different systems and been on defense and been on offense. So I think there's a ton of perspective there. And then obviously KP, Kennedy Palomalu has had a world of experience in both, protection and running back play and just different styles that people have used for success in the NFL. And so marrying that with our system has been a lot of fun, honestly, that when you are in the system long enough, what some of the weak spots are, and you have guys that are veterans like that you go into it and you can address those things with them. Be like, hey, I'm looking for this. I'm watching film. I see this is going to be a problem. How do we do this? And they can, come up with quick answers and ideas and solutions. So it's been fun collaborating with all of them.
How much of a challenge is this for you personally to prove that the success you had at the college level can translate to the NFL?
Coach Frazier asked me that a little bit when I was getting interviewed. And I've always felt like the next step, I was really anxious and excited to prove myself. So I feel like every step I take, I just get more excited and more motivated and determined to make sure that we succeed. So it's a lot of fun. I'm excited to show we can do it on the biggest stage.
You just mentioned Coach Frazier. Just what kind of resource has he been for you?
Wow. He's amazing. He really is. He's I know Mike obviously utilizes him well, but like just thinking about the most random detail of a season or a training camp and just all the volumes of information and experience that coach has and just the way he goes about it, that he offers you, guidance and lets you get to it your own way. And he's just been awesome, and the support mechanism he creates. And, he'll call out something that he sees, like, hey, this could be a problem, especially from a defensive standpoint. And I love that. He's been awesome.
Ryan, you kind of mentioned it for yourself, but you, AD, and Mike are all in new roles at this level for the first time. Is there this massive,
press to be like we all need to go out here and prove ourselves amongst the
No.
staff as a whole or anything or any?
I don't feel that. I think that, when you start pressing, that's when, you get out of your element and you start trying to do things that you didn't do to get here. And I think that there's things that every member of the staff does that they do really well. And I want to keep just trying to find ways to highlight all those things. And, for us, I think you just got to I got to figure out ways for our tight ends to catch stick routes. And we got to find ways for our guards to block better on inside zone. And, it's the same set of problems. And, you got the same dynamics within the team. And, we are really fortunate, though. We got players that, believe in this place and are invested. And, big time players like Geno and DK. But it definitely doesn't stop with those guys. I've been wildly impressed, how these guys are demanding of themselves, and that's what you expect from the outside, I guess, in some ways, of what a professional would look like. And now you see it every day, and you can see why these guys have had success. So I think I would feel the same way as a coach, that, you expect those things every day, and you have for a long time, so don't try to go out of character.
Do you think you'll see a lot different from an NFL defense from week to week than you saw in college?
Oh, yeah. Yep, we will. I think there's a lot more answers, guys thinking ahead, personnel-related problems that they can exploit, and they'll be all over that.
Ryan, going back,
Players have
proving
spoken
yourself.
highly of your offense, and Geno even saying, he hasn't seen an offense since his time in the NFL. What kind of pride do you kind of take in bringing your kind of offense to the NFL at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had to punt yet, so that's that's the good part. I take a ton of pride. I mean, I think that's a little bit, living in the past as far as what we've accomplished there. And so now, as I was mentioning before, just really determined to show these guys that we can be a resource to, push their careers to the next level and hopefully show a brand of success with this offense that, is one of the best in the league.
Are there some things you did at UW that you just feel like you have to scrap in the NFL because for whatever reason it might not work?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's always stuff that that maybe you got away with in one league that you can't in another. I mean, even Mountain West to Pac-12, all those type of things, I think absolutely are applicable, and you got to find the things that are realistic.
Ryan, going back, is this more about proving you, or how much is it about the offense?
The
Just
offense.
for the players to buy in.
Yeah,
in terms
the
of-
offense, 100%. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just trying to be here to help those guys get out there and do the crazy things that they can do on Sunday.
And then in that, how important is it for them to have input as you build the offense and your install and things like
That's
that?
huge. That's one of the things that I felt like translated well from my coaching style in college to the NFL was just, realizing your ability to collaborate. And I think that coaching quarterbacks especially and working with Charles in that room, making sure that Geno and Sam feel like they have all the tools and the weapons they need to go out there and compete at the highest level. And that's no different than I've ever felt in my quarterback room, is just trying to make sure that I'm there to, help with the translation, get them feeling confident and ready to play.
What's your philosophy on getting running backs involved in the passing game?
Oh, I love doing that. Yeah, we want to make every guy in the field, all five of them, as dangerous as possible from any position on the field.
Anything else? Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.